Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 9 o'clock. It's time for another video. Now today I'm going to be talking about card tricks that are suitable for beginner magicians. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about products that you can buy that are suitable for beginner magicians, because that's a question I get an awful lot. I'm new into magic. I don't know any sleight of hand. What trick should I go and buy? I've got a small budget. Or I've got a friend who wants to get into magic and I want to suggest some tricks that you can buy. I don't want him to get a book just yet or a DVD. I want him to have something else. I want him to have a physical product or her a physical product. What do you suggest? So what we have here is we have a video on the 5 tricks that I think are the best tricks that you can buy somebody who's got no experience of magic and they're wanting to get into card magic. I put a lot of time and effort into this. I've thought this through. I really have thought this through. And if I had somebody, and I kind of have gone through this process recently with Matt. You know, I took Matt from somebody who's got no experience into somebody who's going out gigging on quite a regular basis. And all 5 of these tricks are tricks that I suggested Matt use when he first got into magic, and he still uses them now. So without further ado, we're going to get straight into it and look at the 5 best card tricks that you can buy for somebody who's brand new into magic. So in first place, we have Monkey in the Middle by Bill Goldman. Oh, now you can get this from Penguin Magic. This is a... you can probably get it from a lot of the magic dealers as well, but Penguin, I believe, own the rights to this. And I put a video up on social media when I went to film with Penguin the last time. They had me do some social media stuff. And I was in their shop and they said, pick anything and perform it. And I was like, yep, I'll take Monkey in the Middle. Here's why I think it's such a great trick for beginners. First of all, it's instant gratification. And what I mean by that is it's not very difficult to learn. You understand the concept immediately. And once you learn it, you can perform it, and it's very, very fooling. One of the key things about getting somebody into magic is making them understand that the reactions that you get to performing this stuff is almost like a drug. That's what pulls people in, and that's what keeps them in, right? So the thing with Monkey in the Middle is once you understand how it works, and it's very easy to do, you can then perform this trick to somebody, and you're going to get instant gratification, which is going to like get them all excited. They're going to want to learn more tricks. They're going to want to learn more tricks, and it kind of spirals from there. The other thing is, although it's gimmicked, there's really only one gimmicked card. Anybody who knows Monkey in the Middle will know there's only really one gimmicked card. A lot of the time with newer magicians, they worry about what happens if somebody wants to look at the deck, what happens if somebody wants to examine the deck, what happens if this gimmick goes wrong. There's very little for anything to go wrong in this trick, right? Because the gimmick works 100% of the time, but also the entire deck, other than that one gimmick card, is examinable. And anyone who's got Monkey in the Middle will know that that gimmick card is got out of play in a very natural way immediately. So it gives people more confidence because they're not having to worry about being left with a deck of cards that's completely unexaminable. They're left with a deck of cards that is examinable that they can use to go into any other routine. So a combination of it being very easy to do, a combination of it having instant gratification and having a really magical payoff, and a combination of that along with the fact that everything's examinable at the end makes Monkey in the Middle one of the best tricks that you can actually teach people right from the very beginning. Now, the other thing with Monkey in the Middle, it involves you holding a pack of cards. So in order to do this trick, you've got to know how to hold a pack of cards. You've got to know how to spread a pack of cards, which is great. I think that stuff is all really, really important as well. So it's going to teach you basic card handling as well as teaching you a great trick as well. So that's the first one. Let's have a look at number 2. So the second trick that I would suggest that you would teach a beginner, or you would give a beginner that's new into magic, is Twisted Sisters by John Bannon. And the reason I think Twisted Sisters is such a good trick, there's a couple of different reasons. Now, if you don't know what Twisted Sisters is, by the way, it's the classic John Bannon trick from many, many years ago where you've got a packet. It's a packet trick, basically. You bring out 4 red cards, 4 blue cards. You have one person think of a queen. You have another person think of a queen. You tell them they're going to change places. You spread the packets out. The queens have changed places. The backs are different colours, and all the other cards are jokers. It's a great trick, right? It's a fantastic trick. Here's the thing, it's completely sleight of hand free. However, There is one move, an Elmsley count, that you can do that heightens the trick. If you do the Elmsley count at the very, very beginning, and it's a completely offbeat thing, no one's focusing on what's going on at the time, but if you do the Elmsley count at the beginning, it does make the trick a little bit better. However, the trick still works perfectly well if you do not include the Elmsley count. Now, the reason I love that so much is what it allows you to do is learn this trick that you can perform immediately, but it gives you an opportunity to work on a very important sleight, and let's be honest, the Elmsley count is a very important sleight. It allows you to work on that and put it into practice in a trick like this where there's very low pressure. A lot of the time when newer magicians learn sleight of hand and they get nervous because they're worried that they're going to get caught. But if they've already done the trick a million times and they know it works without that sleight, they're not going to be as nervous. And if they do get to the point where they're about to do the sleight and their hands are shaking and they think they can't do it, rather than just abandoning the trick, they can just put the cards down, not do the Elmsley count, and they know that it's going to give them the same result as it would have done if they'd never done the Elmsley count in the first place. And I very much like that approach when you're learning sleights. I put out something on the net tricks called Rocky's Triumph, which is my favorite walk around triumph routine. I also put it on my Penguin Live. Now, I love that trick because in one moment of the trick, you've got to cull 3 cards. There's a moment where you have to cull 3 cards out the deck. Now, you're culling the cards when you're showing that the cards are all face up with one face down card in the middle. So there's no pressure on the cards when you're doing the cull. And even if you don't do the cull, you've still got a magical moment at the end, which is the triumph, right? So it makes no difference if you don't hit the cull or if you fail the cull or if you're too nervous to do the cull. And I always say to people in lectures, this is a great trick to do if you don't cull a card and you want to learn how to do it, because it's going to give you the confidence to actually be able to practice that cull, if that kind of makes sense. So this is the same thing. Twisted Sisters is the same thing. Instant gratification, very easy to do, mind-blowing, some people would say. It teaches you principles in magic. You get to learn about the particular gimmick card that's used in this particular routine. You get to learn about sort of verbal misdirection without giving too much away when it comes to Twisted Sisters. There's a lot of principles that you learn, but ultimately it's self-working. So you can focus completely on presentation, and just like with Monkey in the Middle, it gives you instant gratification, but it allows you to bring more sleight of hand in as you go forward. It's why it's number 2 in this list. Okay, so number 3, I'm going to talk about the Invisible Deck. Now, I love the Invisible Deck, and I think everybody who's watching this knows what an Invisible Deck is and knows how it works, right? It's been around since time began. Now, if you have my DVD, wow, 90s called, I want their reference back. If you've got my physical product, if you've got my download, Visible, which was a 5-hour in-depth look at the Invisible Deck, you'll know that I do a ton of different routines with it. I love the Invisible Deck, always have, always will. Just the classic Invisible Deck of, hey, take a card, turn it over, blah, 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 blah. Look, your card's the only card. Just that handling alone is killer. But then you add other things that you can do with it, and anyone who's got Visible will know this, means that you can take this whole thing in another direction. Now, I think that the reason the Invisible Deck is such a good trick for a beginning magician is, first of all, it's one of the strongest moments in magic. Let's be honest, it is the holy grail when it comes to card magic. You have somebody, you hold a deck of cards, you have somebody name a card, and you prove categorically, without a shadow of a doubt, that you knew what card they would pick from the very, very, very beginning. That's strong. That's a really strong moment right there. And, it's why so many pros continue to use the Invisible Deck to this day. It's because of that moment right there that's basically the holy grail of card magic. So it gives them a really big moment. It's going to get them those big reactions, which, like I said, is a drug. It's going to make them want to do more and more. And that's part of the thing with getting people into magic, nurturing that interest and nurturing it to a point that they become bitten by the magic bug, you know what I mean? But the other thing that the Invisible Deck does, as well, on top of all of that, is it's very easy to do, but it also teaches you the concept of roughing fluid and rough and smooth. Now, I don't think I'm giving too much away by telling people that the Invisible Deck is a rough and smooth deck. Everybody knows that, right? But there's a lot of people that are scared of rough and smooth, and you shouldn't be, because Yeah, I don't think there's many magicians that do as much with rough and smooth as I do. You shouldn't be scared of rough and smooth. Rough and smooth is absolutely amazing. There's so much you can do with rough and smooth. There really is. And it teaches them about rough and smooth and what it does and what it's capable of. And I've seen magicians scared of it because they're worried it's not going to separate or whatever the case may be. You show this to somebody at the beginning and you get them to do it, they're not going to be scared of it because it's just going to become second nature. So yeah, Invisible Deck, it's the third trick that I would suggest that you teach somebody who's a complete beginner, complete novice in magic. Now we're going to look at number 4. In fourth place, we have the Mirage Deck. Now, here's the thing. I was umming and ahhing about whether to include the Mirage Deck or the Svengali Deck in this. And at one point, I thought, well, maybe I'll expand it to 10 because, you know, it'd be very easy to do another 5. And I thought, well, no, I'll hold that off for another list. I went back and forth between the Mirage Deck and the Svengali Deck, and I ended up going for the Mirage Deck. Now, the Mirage Deck is basically a Svengali Deck with rough and smooth fluid. So the Mirage Deck is a Svengali Deck, so every other card is the same, and it's cut short. But it's got rough and smooth on it, so you can spread the cards out face up. Now, why this is awesome is because just the main routine that everyone does with the Mirage Deck gives people instant gratification. Think about this. You can spread the deck face up. You can show all the cards are different. You can spread the deck face down. You can have them touch any one. And yet the card that they touch, you can have predicted ahead of time on an envelope, on a piece of paper, printed on your t-shirt, tattooed on your arm, whatever you want to do. You can have that really clean force. It makes people understand about forcing without having to riffle down the deck or learn classic forces or anything. And don't forget, a force and a revelation is a really strong thing. It really is. There's so much you can do with a force. You know, it was Vernon, wasn't it, that said if you've got 100 forces and 1 revelation, you've got 1 trick. If you've got 1 force and 100 revelations, you've got 100 tricks. And it's true. You know how to force a card, like the Mirage Deck, which is the easiest way to do it. Again, it's instant gratification. You know how to force a card. There's a million different things that you can do with it. Look, you picked a card and I put it back in the deck, because that's the other thing. The Mirage Deck will vanish the card for you, because when you put it back into position, you spread through, it's going to vanish because of the rough and smooth, right? So you can say, hey, look, you picked a card and now it's vanished and it's underneath my close-up pad. It's vanished. It's underneath your chair. It's vanished. It's up my arse. Anywhere that you want to have it go, it will go. It's why it's such a strong trick to include in a set for beginners. So I'm going to put it in here, but don't forget, I've got a ton of routines with the Mirage Deck as well. On my Vanishing Ink Masterclass, I put 2 or 3 different routines on there. Little Birdie has told me there might be a project coming out soon using the Mirage Deck, so look out for that. But definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, the Mirage Deck deserves a place. It's one of the best tricks that you can teach a beginner in magic. Okay, so finally, the last one I talk about is the Stebbins Deck. This was probably the first deck that I taught to Matt, and 90% of his close-up work uses the Stebbins deck. There's so much you can do with Stebbins. Without making this about my projects, I bought out something called the Beyond Stebbins project with Alakazam a couple of years ago. It's all of my work with the Stebbins deck. I think the Stebbins deck is massively underrated. There is so much you can do with it. I love it. I love it so much. But just the whole idea of take any card and immediately know what the card is, with no memory work, no crib, no sleight of hand, no nothing. It's why Matt gravitated towards this straight away, because it made it, when I taught him this, he didn't know sleight of hand. He couldn't even shuffle a deck of cards. And I said to him, we're going to learn this at the Stebbins deck. And I could literally hold his hand and say, spread the deck out, now cut the deck. Now look at that card. How does that tell you? What does that tell you? And just the action of having somebody pick a card and being able to tell them what the card is and do it over and over again, and it's a different card every single time, is mind-blowing. You can go out and you can do a gig with just the Stebbins deck. Matt does. However, you can then expand upon it, and you'll see a lot of the different things that I'm talking about in this list. You can expand on it. So the Mirage deck, hey, it's a great force deck, but you can expand on it with all of the different things that I've talked about. Invisible Deck, hey, it's a great trick in its own right, but you can expand on it. The Stebbins Deck is a perfect example. Look at some of the stuff that I've put on my Stebbins project. The Vanishing Acan, you know, all the different predictions, all of Perfect Ritual, everything. There's so many different things that you can actually use the Stebbins Deck to do. And you can create a whole act around the Stebbins Deck that really does knock people for 6, and I am absolutely not kidding. It's why it's one of my favorite tricks. Now, if you are going to use the Stebbins Deck, I would suggest going and getting Beyond the Stebbins, because the Beyond the Stebbins Deck is more than just a Stebbins Deck. There's something else built into it that allows you to do other stuff that you wouldn't normally be able to do with a normal Stebbins Deck. I don't want to say too much more. It's not fair on Alakazam, but go get the Beyond Stebbins Deck if you are a beginner in Magic, especially because just like it happened with Matt, it's going to give you instant gratification. It's very easy to do. You're going to impress yourself. You're going to learn a new principle. And like I say, no memory work, no crib, no nothing. And you can have someone pick a card and immediately know what the card is. If you taught a beginner these 5 tricks, in one day they would be able to get them down. And with a week's practice, they could go out and they could do a gig, and they would do a great job with these 5 tricks. They are absolutely brilliant. They're going to establish credibility to that beginner, and more importantly, they're going to raise that person up and show them the reactions that they can get if they go out and perform. So there you go, guys. That's another video in the bag. This is the best card tricks for beginners. Do you want to see another video like this? Do you want me to do another one on card tricks? Do you want me to do one on coin tricks? Do you want me to do one on impromptu magic specifically for beginners? If you do, let me know in the comments down below. You want to see more videos like this? Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and please don't forget, if you want access to over 500 tricks, hundreds of sleights, and the Discord server, the Q&As, and everything, go check out the Netrix, www.thenetrix.com. Go check it out, see what all the fuss is about. I will be back very, very soon with another video. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Craig from Magic TV.